the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. So I'd like to just start by thanking everybody for coming out tonight and everybody who's watching at home. And thanks to the bounty of emails we also received, understanding the Bruins are playing tonight. We had a lot of people email in that they couldn't make it, and so they sent us their list too. I just want to give a little background on how we got here tonight and the purpose of tonight's meeting, and sort of to set the expectations of why we're here and what our goals are. So this started out as we had a series of residents coming in front of the Board of Selectmen at open session and talking about the traffic issues they had in town. And of course, we had the normal hot spots that we hear about: Ledge Road, Stedman Street, the concerns on Route 40, Golden Cove Road, 129. And we heard those concerns. And so we decided in the list of goals and objectives this year for the Board of Selectmen and for the town manager was to start to look at some of these issues and maybe come up with a short-term plan for some of them, a medium-term plan for the minor issues, and then a long-term plan for the bigger issues. But what kind of struck me is, as I was talking to people on the weekends at diners, or if I'd run into them out at the grocery stores, and I asked them what their concerns were, what I was really surprised with was what I thought concerns were not necessarily everybody's concerns. And they would range from speed on a road to smells from the asphalt plant to not having a left-hand turn lane, extra stop signs, concerns about crosswalks. And I stepped back and sort of looked at this and said, well, wait a minute. We as the town want to address these issues, but maybe we're not really sure what all the issues are. And so I thought maybe a better approach to us, bringing everybody into a room and standing up and talking about what we can and can't do and sort of guessing what we think the concerns are. Maybe it's better off we just start with having everybody in a room and we listen to what they say the concerns are. So that was the purpose of tonight. We're not here to have answers. More importantly, we're going to start to compile a list. So what we do ask is that when you approach the mic tonight and you express your concerns, we don't want you to ramble on too much. Try to stay on point. We want to hear everybody out. If it does go excessive, we may step up and ask you to wrap it up. If there is an issue that's already been addressed, but yet you still want to come to the mic, that's fine. But if you could just keep it to, I also want to go on record for concern about, the crosswalk out in front of Cottage Row on Route 3A in North Chelmsford. Just second it, tell us that it's a concern for you, and move on. And again, the Bruins are playing tonight. We don't want to be here all night. What I'll also do is, these emails are public record that came in, so I'll add these in between. So, instead of reading them all at once and having people's eyes gloss over, I just figured that I'd stand up and maybe read one or two in between each few speakers, and we can add these to the list. Because what the goal is to get a thorough list of all the concerns. We want to walk away from tonight with that list. Break it up into the areas of who has to deal with it, whether it's Mass DOT, the Chelmsford Police Department, the Board of Health, the Planning Board. So we'll identify which department in town's issue it is, where it falls. Then we'll bring that to those different departments and sort of come up with a timeline, look at which ones are easy solutions, which ones are a little more in depth, and which ones are long-term. And then maybe towards the end of the summer, come back with a report on what we've sort of digested from tonight's meeting, and have some sort of a plan laid out for people so that they can feel like they're part of the process here and they can be on board. And then, we want to hold these again later so that we can sort of, measure how we've come along with this list and these goals. And so this was the thought process that myself and the rest of the board had. We want to be more interactive with the public. We want to be here to listen for you. So I'm going to start just by reading a couple of these emails that we got in as examples of what we're looking for when you get up to speak, and then we'll open up the mic, and if you could just, make a line, express your concerns, and keep it short and sweet, and let's just get through this. So the first email that I was just handed, it said, we have concerns about unsafe crosswalks at the Cottage Row, Washington Street, Princeton Boulevard intersections. While traveling from Drum Hill, the topography of Princeton Boulevard precludes the ability of drivers to see pedestrians in the crosswalk until they are dangerously close. The posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour. However, this is rarely obeyed. Please install a traffic light similar to the one on Watton Street. Our other concern is that speeding cars at Cottage Row. It's a popular cut-through from Princeton to Middlesex Streets. It's extremely dangerous for many young children to walk to Varney Park. It is extremely dangerous to walk to Vinyl Square or to take a dog for a walk. Posting a speed limit sign is not effective. Please install speed bumps. Now, if we install speed bumps, we don't want complaints. Keep that in mind. And then another email, this is from Brian Strip. I regrettably can't make tonight's meeting, but wanted to express my opinion. I've lived on High Street for 15 years. The amount of traffic has increased substantially. There will always be landscapers and service trucks, but the number of dump trucks, tractor trailers, and equipment has increased along with car traffic on our scenic road, because it is a town scenic road, and has become even more of a cut-through for those avoiding the center from Littleton Road. The stretch to Littleton Road from Hunt to Westford line has become a partner row. Very few obey the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'd like to see a truck exclusion on High Street, and I don't see any reason why this couldn't be implemented. So those are two first thoughts. If someone wants to approach the mic, then feel free. If nobody wants to, I'm going to keep reading if you don't.
Beth Logan, Lovett Lane. I'm brave. I don't care. So I wrote them down here. I'm short, too. Wrote them down here so I'd remember. So I'm trying to think of ones, but a lot of times, and I want you to address this at some point, it's a state issue because I think they're state roads, but I'm going to throw them out. The intersection of Fletcher and North has, if you're on North going south, there's a left turn lane and a straight lane, and then people are turning from Fletcher onto North going North Road, going north. And the lanes are just barely wide enough. And sometimes there's things that are too big, and so you can't actually get in the left lane to turn left. Mm-hmm. And then the people turning right, it is such a tight right turn that they swing out into the left turn lane. And so there's all sorts of issues there. And I see people stopping, and sometimes there's all this hesitation because it's not enough room. We need like a foot. And one of the things I thought is, even if you can't get it, if you cut into the side, like if you make the road curve a little, cut the curb so it's a little smoother of a right, it would stop those people from swinging out. And the sidewalk's already there. All you do is move it from a paved sidewalk to the stripes on the road. So that was my first thought. The second one is the library. When you're coming around that corner when you do kind of the loop around the library, people don't know that they can keep going, and they come to a dead stop, even though that lane is all theirs. If there was a sign that just said, continue the flow, I don't know what the proper signs are, but if there was a sign or something that told people they could just keep going, it might help, because people stop and they stare and they don't know what to do. The four-way stop sign at School Street, people run it all the time. I've seen people I don't mean rolling, I mean run it. What I know our Public Works knows about this, but heaven help me, Westford Bridge is horrific. And
which bridge is that?
The Westford Bridge over 495.
Okay. Yep.
Westford Road.
Yeah.
Sorry, Westford Road Bridge over 495. They've patched it. Rebar shows. I contact somebody. They patch it. It's horrible, and it's people should be lucky to be in their cars and not riding or walking on it, because you can see it's crumbling. And School Street, they changed the railroad tracks, and they put this nice, I'm going to say nice sarcastically, they put these like railroad ties there, and it is worse than it was ever before. And it's actually, I know it's bad in a car, but if you take it on a bike, it actually causes a headache. It is that bad. So I'm sure everybody will talk about the fun we have, like in Vinyl Square, but those are the things I figured I'd mention that are probably less talked about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great example, though. I never would have guessed railroad tracks. It's a good one.
I'm Dave Rand. I live on Dunstable Road, and I live between Ledge, where the new tire factory in Westford is going to be sending trucks through. But now with crushed stone, and we always had trucks coming through there and going up, going to Dunshire. Not Dunshire. It's Swain Road. But they came from the quarries, and the guys live right in the neighborhood, so they didn't used to blow through. I had my hat blown off the other day by one of these big trucks going by when I was mowing my lawn, and I just find it aggravating. They go too fast. They downshifting some of them. I never heard of anybody downshifting as many times. It was like they're trying to aggravate us, you know. And so, anyways, my suggestion is on Ledge Road, they have an underpass under Route 3. If the town could contact our state reps and maybe get these people's permission to put an industrial spur into their quarries, they would make a lot of money, and they wouldn't ruin our roads in our neighborhoods and make it very hard to live there, you know? So that's my beef about the roads.
Okay, thank you. I have an email here from Mark Duffy, and I just know Billy joined us. Hi, Mike. Billy Gillette asked me to reach out to you concerning the issues on trucks on Ledge Road, so it's another Ledge Road. I've lived on Stonehill Road for 22 years, and Ledge Road is only a few hundred yards through the woods behind me. I just wanted to validate concerns of friends I know on Ledge that the trucking has significantly increased recently. It's not uncommon for me to watch a line of tractor trailers and triaxles dumps heading up Ledge Road as early as 6:30 to 7 a.m. I'm not sure if you're aware that it was only very recently the access from Route 40 to Ledge was created. See attached photos, and there's a series of pictures he attached. And you can see that even though that recently installed solar farm is on the image on the left, there is no access road. My concern for those on Ledge is that even more trucks will be utilizing that access in an effort to circumvent any truck restrictions placed on them by the town of Westford on companies within that area. It's hard enough for a 10-wheel dump to make the turn on Ledge when heading south on Dunstable. You should see when a tractor-trailer dump tries to negotiate it. Not to mention there's a bus stop on that corner, and these trucks are flooding in the streets during the hours the kids are standing there. Just wanted to add more input. Mark Duffy. So that's another one on Ledge Road. There's a lot of people in the room. We want to hear from everybody.
Hi. Dana Roof, Swain Road. So 2 issues. One is definitely the dump trucks. I have 2 small children, and I don't need an alarm clock because the dump trucks wake me up even before my kids can. Definitely starts 6:15, 6:30, weekdays as well as now Saturdays. I work from home, as does my husband, full-time, so from 6:30 until roughly 4 p.m., constantly we're at the end of the street, and they are one after the other after the other. And because they're going too fast, we're constantly seeing material coming off the tops of the trucks. There was one day it was so bad, I know multiple people contacted the town about a cleanup because from Ledge Road to Route 3, I don't know if there was a hole in a truck, but there was material spewed for miles of rocks, large chunks of rocks. Constantly we're finding them from the end of Swain/Dunstable up the first 100 feet or so. I also run during my lunch break, and I see the material well over the top of the trucks, so I'm not sure if there's monitoring about how much they're even putting in these trucks to make sure it's an appropriate amount, or if they're putting just as much as they can, and what happens if some spills out, who cares? And then secondly is just regular traffic on Swain. It is a half mile, pretty much exactly, and cars love to see how quickly they can go from one side to the other. We constantly, especially in the early evenings, more so than early in the morning, hear the cars just trying to essentially race it as fast as they can. And again, it's just pretty nonstop, late afternoon to early evening. There's actually a lot of kids that live on the street. Obviously, other parents we're all very concerned about, we have little kids on the street, ages 5 and under, 6 and under, about even being anywhere close to the street just based on the volume of traffic and how quickly people are going.
Okay, thank you. So I have another email here from John. I apologize if I ruined the name here, Bissonette. I'm a resident on Dunstable Road. Unfortunately, I can't attend the meeting. My daughter's of a baseball game. Since Newport bought the property off LeMaisure's, there have been obvious issues. I've never been one to complain, but never been anyone to complain about someone trying to make a living. I have 2 dogs and an 8-year-old daughter, and the behavior of the truck drivers have become very concerning to me. Mind you, this only pertains to some drivers, certainly not all of them. One of my biggest concerns was the speed that some of these drivers were traveling on Dunstable Road. I estimate that they were traveling roughly 45 miles an hour. I don't need to express the danger in that, especially when hauling 20 tons of stone. They were also constantly using their Jake brakes in front of my house. Jake brakes at 7 to 8 a.m. are quite annoying. The third problem was that they were spilling stone on the right turn on Swain Road and the left turn on Route 3 from Route 40. While tires for my truck are roughly $200, you can see why this is an issue. I called the traffic division at Chelmsford Police approximately 6 weeks ago and explained this to Lieutenant Spence. He was very professional and accommodating and was well aware of the problem. He was going to go to Newport and let them know that several complaints had been received. I will say, after speaking to Lieutenant Spence, the issue has gotten much better. There still have been some isolated issues, but nothing compared to before. The only issue now is the excessive truck traffic basically trashed Dunstable Road, and I spoke to Lieutenant Spence this morning, and he'll let me know that I was going to use his name in an email and thank him for his response to my complaint. He informed me that Newport has posted several warning signs for the drivers when they leave at their site. They are also asked me to stay vigilant and report any issues, big or small. I sincerely hope your meeting tonight's a success. I believe that there are needs to take actions before someone gets hurt or even killed. Let's hope it doesn't come down to that. Also, perhaps we could start a motion to ban Jake brakes in residential areas. It's my understanding that Chelmsford does not have an ordinance for that. Thank you for taking the time to address my situation, reading my email. John. So.
Okay, it's Beth Logan again. I thought of another one. The intersection of Davis and Old Westford Road is, it's kind of difficult to see up the hill on Davis. So I just fear that we're going to have, if we haven't already, a really bad accident there because people are coming down the hill really fast, and it's a flashing red light, I think, for Davis and flashing, but you can't see, especially when the leaves are out. It's actually easier to drive at night when you can see the headlights. And they're coming down way too fast, and you're trying to get across, and that one's a visual more than anything else would help.
If you have a high schooler, we all know what you're talking about.
And for that matter, just in general, if you go around town, and I know that when we have snow, you just kind of got to live with the fact that there's snowbanks, but there's different intersections all around town where you can't see really well. So even, I can't even think of the name of it, but on Main Street, when you just come off Route 3, there's like a little cut through, and somebody has this massive bush, and you've got to kind of creep out to see around it, and it becomes dangerous. And I think there's several spots like that. So I think if you just drive around town and find them, if there's some way we can get people to cut their bushes and trees back, it would be safer. And then we might even have more spots for the snow, so it's safer in the winter too.
Got it. Thank you. I did have, yeah. Okay. Come on up. Yeah, as you were walking up, I had 2 other complaints that were phoned into me today that I'll add to it. One was, and I've already brought this one up to Paul, why there's not a left-hand turn lane on North Road heading south at Parkhurst and North. And then, oh, shoot, I just forgot the other one. All right, jump in.
Hi, Emily Antle, Board of Selectmen. I also have a text from a neighbor of mine. So we live around the corner. I walked here past Varney on Sherman. There is no sidewalk. Sidewalks are a huge issue in all of Chelmsford. It is not safe to walk on many of the streets without them, particularly on streets like Sherman, which are a cut through for people trying to avoid the traffic lights at Varney, there's a big blind spot at the top of the hill, and so I won't walk that way at night because it's also very dark. Even though there is a street light, it's often shielded by leaves, and because of the blind spot, it actually makes it very dangerous to walk at night there because people drive through. So my neighbor, Monica Gregoire, sent that we need to pay attention to our actual infrastructure. We do not have reliable forms of alternative transportation, and this is a regional issue. So I know NIMCOG is here, but there is a group called Middlesex 3 that she thinks we can work with. We need shuttles running constantly during the rush hour to get people to and from. We need some sort of park and ride system. We need sidewalks. We need bike lanes. Fantasyland, we would have bike lanes, so there are alternative ways of transport. We need shuttle service. We need higher speed bus transit. But, you've also got articles coming out in the newspapers, like the Globe, indicating that because the past 40 years we have refused to raise revenues and refused to invest in public transportation, we have one of the worst public transit systems for our world-class city. And having traveled, people know where Boston is. You say, I'm from Boston, they're like, I know it. So to have that kind of recognition and to have one of the worst public transit systems is terrible. But we could work with other communities to figure out carpool options, any kind of park and ride where you've got a shuttle service bringing people to and from where they need to go. If we can do anything either as a municipality or in partnership with other communities, we can see if any of that could possibly help. The problem is you've got a lot of people, single occupant cars, and if you don't have spaces where people can meet up to carpool, it's very difficult to reduce the number of single occupant cars. So.
Good afternoon, Aaron Cunningham, 67 Bill Ricker Road. So I appreciate the board having this session tonight, and for the rest of the town representatives to be out here. A little loud. So closer? Okay. So I have two things that are kind of near and dear, directly related to me and where I live, and then just some general comments, and I'll try to keep them brief. First is 67 Bill Ricker is the White House in the corner across from Town Hall. Love having the fire station there, just in case. However, when they have to pull out, which I'm glad they can get out quickly, that red light goes on, and the red light is important. However, that seems to be the signal for people going towards the center on Bill Ricker Road to take the left onto Perham, floor it, go down to Grove, get to Summer, and try to get back to avoid that pause. Now, honestly, the amount of time it takes to do that drive is less time than that light is on. There's not a problem with that light. There's definitely a problem with using that cut through. And I left here tonight because I left a neighborhood party early to come here tonight. There are 20 little kids in there, 3 of them mine, that play down in those yards. It stresses me out because I work from home, so I see it a lot. I'd like to see if we can do something. Again, the light is not the issue, the fire station is not the issue. The issue is the decision and the ability for drivers to take that left and try to do that cutoff. The other part, there are some mornings where I have to ride over to McCarthy to drop somebody off, and when you're going on North Road towards the Drum Hill Rotary, on the south end, you can take a left into the parking lot and drop kids off. If you park and you stop to turn the left and you got to wait for oncoming traffic, everybody feels it's their right to drive half on the road and half on the dirt and fly by. And while they do it, they make gestures and honk their horn and be angry with you because you were just trying to take a left. Now, I noticed at some point somebody patched that area to kind of extend the road over. I'd actually like to see something be put in the way so you just have to wait, because the aggressiveness of trying to get around you is a little nerve-wracking when you've got the kids in the car. It's nerve-wracking when they're not in the car. So I know the police have done a good job of being out in front of McCarthy during drop-offs and stuff like that, but I'd like to see that area looked at to either widen it and make a bypass, because it can be hard to go left with all the oncoming traffic. I don't have a problem with that, but you got to make the space or you got to prevent it from happening. And kind of the last part of that is once I do that drop off in the morning, which only took 5 to 7 minutes with the traffic to get over there, that's now at least 30 minutes on top of that. That can be a 30 to 35 minute trying to get back that same route. Now, we can't necessarily do anything about that today, but I think it goes to my general comments, which are congestion in general is building. The aggression is building because of the frustration with the congestion, and I know we're kind of a cut-through community today because, you know, Route 3 and 495 are a disaster. So I think just as part of our long-term planning, I'd like to see us looking at ways to do the best we can to manage and monitor the cut-through traffic. And again, if anything, I'm okay with the traffic if the speeds can come down a little bit, because when there's a break in that traffic action, everybody feels like Florida is the answer. And I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and hearing my concerns, and I look forward to seeing what other folks have to say.
Thanks. And I would agree with you on that north road stretch there, because the other problem I see, my office is right there, and I live right down the street from there, is that the kids are trying to come out of Chelmsford Village and go to school in that crosswalk, and if Mrs. Shilley's not out there with the stop sign, someone's going to go around a car and they're going to clip one of those kids. So I would agree with you. I noticed they, like you said, they paved it, made it a little bit wider, and I think that probably made it a little bit more dangerous. But anyways, anybody else want to take the mic? Oh, go ahead.
I live on Swain Road also, and I live where the incline is. Those brakes, I never knew what jack brakes were before, but I do now. You know, when you're 80 years old, it's kind of hard to sleep. And in the past, they've been doing this with the trucks a couple of years now. We have not once slept beyond 7 o'clock in the morning. They also sneak up at 5:30 in the morning. When they're coming up the slant, some of them, I don't know if it's because they're too full, too heavy, the cars are going around them. It's right there. I watch it all day long. It is absolutely terrible. My husband and I go out and we sweep up the pebbles that come off the trucks there. I don't know the mileage of how fast they're going, but let me tell you, it is terrible, terrible. Somebody's going to get hurt bad. That's what I have to say.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I did, you know, I took some time, a couple hours a few weeks ago, and sat on Ledge Road right at the overpass, and I do understand your plight, so.
Hello, my name is Jerry Hall. I'm at Lovett Lane. You know I'm concerned about traffic on Route 40. Sounds like we need to get Newport Materials under control and be a little more aggressive in our enforcement. And I'd love to see the chief give us a report on how many tickets they write over the next few months for speeding, for having their load not under control and dropping stuff on the streets. And I'd like to see if we could get the state police to come up with their portable weighing units, and let's see who is overloading their trucks. I can only imagine what's going to happen once we get the asphalt plant going. Now, we've been talking tonight about let's put a stop sign here or left-hand turn lane there, and that's really treating the symptoms. I really think the disease is overdevelopment. And you know, you put up a 200-unit apartment building here, and you put up another one there in the center of town, and you put something here, and all those road trips start adding up. So I think we got to look at how much can we develop and not kill ourselves on traffic. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Woods, and my family lives on Ledge Road. And since Newport's moved onto Ledge, in the quarries on Ledge, the truck traffic has been exponentially more heavy on the road, and it causes you not to be able to pass other cars when you're trying to go down the road, and it causes other trucks to drive onto people's lawns. There are a lot of children and family on the road, so it's a very dangerous situation if there are children on their bikes and trucks driving 30 or 40 miles an hour on a 15-mile-per-hour road. And it's not a safe situation for the people who live there, so thank you.
Yep. I'm going to, if I could, just read a quick email from Karen Spengler. I'm just going to try to get these in between each person or every few people. So Karen Spengler says, I'm a resident of Ledge Road, unfortunately cannot attend the meeting. I'll skip why. I want to express my sincere concern and dismay over the increased truck traffic on Ledge Road, which of course leads to an increased traffic on Dunstable and Swain. When we moved here 13 months ago, we felt the trucks were a concern, but after much research and time spent on the road, we decided that we could live with it. Unfortunately, the traffic has increased over the last year to a point where it is not livable. We have 3 kids who get off the buses on Ledge Dunstable intersection. I fear for all their safety because of the large trucks, after large truck barreled onto Ledge Road. Then as we walk home from the stop, we fear that they may not see us and may not be able to stop. Our kids should feel safe when walking to and from the bus stop. We should feel safe waiting for the bus. It is not just a feeling, we are clearly not safe. Meanwhile, these trucks are accessing a Westford business. They using our roads, endangering our kids at our expense. These are huge, heavy vehicles that are damaging our roads and not paying for any of the upkeep, and they force us to pull aside to let them pass on residential streets. They do not respect our speed limits, they do not regard our safety, and they cost Chelmsford taxpayers to upkeep our roads as they damage them. We must insist that they create another way in and out of the business and utilize their property in Westford roadways. Please feel free to contact me for further discussion. So,
good evening. George Bacon, 93 Westford Street. It doesn't happen all the time, but we actually have fully loaded asphalt trucks using Pine Hill Road to Westford Street, then going down to Dalton or down through the town center. Coming up the hill, they're quite heavy, so they're having to put on the engine, and then going down the hill, sometimes they actually have the Jake brakes going on. Pine Hill Road is not a suitable road at all for a fully loaded asphalt truck, and under any circumstances, highly wide enough for 2 vehicles, as you know, and have someone walking on the road. It doesn't happen all the time, so it just seems to be maybe when they're trying to lessen the load or the traffic on other roads. I'm not really sure. But that goes right down through the historic district also. So.
My name's Justin Bates. I live on Oak Hill Road. I got a couple kids that run up and down on their bikes and stuff down Ledge Road. I'm relatively new to the neighborhood. I've been there about 6-7 years now. I do have a few friends that drive the trucks up and down there, which I've realized that, like I know you got the people in Bedford complaining about Hanscom and the airplanes and stuff like that. They move in. I know the Corys have been there a lot longer than I have, but their expansion up there between Newport, taking over, leveling out all the trees and taking out a bunch more, bigger, the quarry bigger. W.F. Graves bought out Roma Stone, which is a huge company that's taken all the concrete tailings, because Newport ain't taking the concrete anymore, I guess, and they're taking the concrete up and down to the Roma Stone for their Roma pack or whatever they make there. But they are hauling up and down Ledge Road at a pretty good clip. I'm worried about my kids in the neighborhood. There's a lot younger kids there, especially now. There's a big turnaround in the neighborhood. I've seen a couple trucks try to make that turn. I know they stopped that turn going northbound up Dunstable Road, getting stuck by the telephone pole there. I work days, but last Friday I was off. I dropped my kid off the bus stop, and it was like 7:30 in the morning. There's a line of trucks coming out. It's just amazing how much they've grown coming up since Graves, between Graves and Newport expanding there, though. But.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanne Rawls. I live on Smith Street, so I'm sort of sandwiched in between North Road and Stedman, so I'm at a disadvantage anyway. I'm here because of the traffic light at the top at North Road in Parkhurst. I really have to take a left turn to get home when I'm on North Road coming from Drum Hill. There is no green arrow. So I cannot use that anymore, and it has impacted my life, it has impacted my daughter's life, and I'm sure a lot of other people. I've called the State Department of Transportation, I've spoken to people at the police station, I've been out to the highway department, and I just feel that a green arrow, even if 3 cars can get through, is better than nothing, because I sit there and I just watch the cars pile up. And I know that when it's time to get the green light again, I'm not going to have a chance. And that's really my route to get home. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Earl Gilmet on 75 Ledge Road, North Chelmsford. I think I got a problem with these, to remedy this problem of the trucks. If they could only build a road to get on Route 3, and we tried 1955, and we were rejected because they said it was too close to the Groton Road. But things have changed, and there's a lot more traffic now. So if they had an entrance for the trucks on Ledge Road and enter onto Route 3, that would solve a lot of problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melissa Lauren. I live at 44 Ledge Road. I work from home, and so I see the volume of increase of the trucks that have gone up and down the street in the last 10 years. What I can say is that the speed that they travel is ridiculous. It's 40, 50 miles an hour. When there's 2 trucks coming up and down the street, they can't pass each other. They go into other people's yards. If you're walking your dog and there's 2 trucks passing, that you have to actually go into the woods because there's no sidewalks on the street. In addition to that, right, I think that the hours that they travel are absolutely absurd. This morning they started at 5:12. They were, the reverse sensors, the beepers, were going off at 5:12 this morning, and they go all the way till 4 o'clock. They travel on Saturdays. They start at 6 o'clock in the morning, hauling. They don't stop till 3, 4 in the afternoon. Something needs to be done about it. I mean, there's children that play out in the neighborhood. They don't give any concern about the speed that they're traveling. I've called the police multiple times. I've actually called the trucks of the greener group is one that's very, very heavy. They have heavy foot as well. I've called the owners of Newport. They just don't cooperate, right? So, I mean, I think that there's traffic studies that have been done, and I think the town knows the increase in volume that has transpired over the last 2 years, and it's only gonna get worse as time goes on. So, I'm really looking forward to hearing what the town's gonna do about the volume and what the town's gonna do. One, on if it is going to continue to be an access road, how are they gonna address the width of the road so that it is safe for residents to walk, it is safe for residents to drive, it is safe for children to play in their yards and not have to be concerned with getting hit by a car. Thank you.
Thanks. Can I read? I'm going to read another one. Just pepper them in here as we go. So this one's from Eric Hill. I understand this email is coming a little late after the deadline. Thank you for reading it. My wife and I purchased a new house this year on the corner of Ledge and Dunstable, and we've witnessed the large increase of volume in both quantity and literally sound as the businesses have increased at the quarry and asphalt plant. Our daughter just finished kindergarten this year, and we routinely saw at least 3 to 4 trucks coming out of the quarry in the bus stops right at the corner of Ledge and Dunstable. Excuse me. It is quite concerning to have this large vehicles traveling through with young children. Taking my daughters and my 3-year-old son out of the stop, I felt that we had to be more cautious than the residential areas should call for. All of the drivers themselves do appear to be cautious as possible, but they are driving very large and visually impaired vehicles on small, very residential roads. The noise as the trucks accelerate under Dunstable off a ledge is also quite irritating, especially with the larger trucks. You cannot talk with people standing out next to you. Decibel readings off of my cell phone put them at 80 decibels on average, and they peak at greater than 90. This is quite loud. Reverberates through my house and happens numerous times throughout the day. This not only happens on weekdays, but it happens on weekends as well. It is disconcerting that this level of traffic and noise is allowed in such a clearly residential zone. Thank you for taking the time to read my email and record, Eric Hill.
My name is Dina Steelen at 2 Ledge Road. I concur with most everybody that's complained, but I live on the corner so when they take that left turn, or it's a sharp right turn, they miss it often and hit my yard. I'm trying to actually establish grass and not ruin my irrigation system and all of those kinds of things, and they keep kind of running over things. I have 2 kids that I'd like to be able to play basketball in the driveway, but I fear that they go too fast to see my kids if they ran out after a ball. I'm terrified of the safety of my kids, and I just spent a lot of money on that house, and I would really like to enjoy living there. So I would really like to see something done about the trucks on that road.
Thank you.
Hello, I live on Ledge Road. Not to be the horse, but let's do it.
Name?
Derek Perry.
Thank you.
I'm fairly new there. I've only been there 17 years. The truck traffic is it's horrible. My kids can't walk to the bus. The bus won't even come down our road, we were told, because there's not enough room for the bus. But yet, I counted 25 trucks before 7 o'clock last Saturday morning come down the road. That's just, it's far too much traffic. The drivers have disregard for our property. The trash. I've spent time picking up trash at the end of the road. The amount of trash we get from that's thrown out is unbelievable. Our kids can't play on the road. They can't ride their bikes. If they're in our yard, like my neighbors have said, the trucks, they come on our property. You can't go 2 cars down a car and a truck can't go down the road at the same time, and the drivers don't care. I've called Newport to complain, and they don't care. The owner of Newport, when they first bought the property, came out and introduced himself and gave everyone his cell number, wanted them to call. You call him, he doesn't return your phone calls. They've just got total disregard, and they're taking over our neighborhood. Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to read another one in here for the record. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting about the traffic in town. I wanted to voice my thoughts and possible solutions to the area that has the biggest impact on me. I'm a resident at 49 Billerica Road, Apartment 1. The speed limit here is 30 miles an hour from the center of town to the light on Golden Cove intersection, with a 20-mile-an-hour school zone also falling on that stretch of Billerica Route 129. Speeding is out of control in this small stretch of the road. It's like a race out of town. 40 to 50 miles an hour is normal. 2 residents at the stretch of the road had their cars totaled in the last 30 days. One by a speeding car losing control and going off-road into a driveway of a residence, totaling 1, possibly 2 of the parked cars. The house across, this is the house across from the Stone Church. The other accident was a new resident at the corner of Summer Street and Billerica Road, backing out of their driveway. Cars should be in control and able to stop if they're going 30 miles an hour. Please address this area, as there is a school zone there too. I hate to see the next accident involve children. Possible solutions would be flashing speed signs, similar to those at Kate's Corner, speed bumps, similar to those like behind the library, or a strong police presence enforcing the speed. Thank you, Sarah Ray.
Cheryl Ryan, 233 Dunstable Road. I have the same complaints with the trucks. Been there 30 years now, and it's never been this bad, except for the last couple years. It's obviously a huge increase in the truck traffic. The noise on that side of our house doesn't even face Dunstable Road, and you got to keep the windows closed because of all the noise. I'm also a runner, along with the rest of my family, with the trucks running on the side of the road and the trucks passing you. It's a dangerous situation. Swain Road's also so narrow that with the trucks passing, it's really kind of crazy. Also, the time they're starting. I don't understand exactly what time they're allowed to start traveling, but I've heard them at 5:30 in the morning. I leave for work at 6:30 in the morning, and I bet I pass at least 3 trucks going in the opposite direction on my way to Route 3, which is probably 2 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have another short email I'll read. Hello, I'm not able to attend tonight's public session on the traffic in town, but I'd like to provide some input. I'm not personally have any complaints about the traffic in town. Traffic is part of the price to pay for a vibrant community. I'm more concerned about the traffic safety. Far too many people blatantly run red lights all over town. I'd like to see a greater police presence in town or use other technology to identify and find people who go through lights that are clearly already red when they enter the intersections. Thank you. Susan McMahon, 16 Cathy Road, Chelmsford.
Hi, my name is Susan Olson, and I live at 140 Groton Road. My house is situated at the intersection of Main Street, Groton Road, Swain Road. I have a couple of different issues to talk about, and one is to bring to the police department or DPW if there can be a stop ahead sign on Main Street that's bigger than what we have now. Over the last 3.5 weeks, there have been 4 accidents on Lynn Ave, on Main Street. Someone went through the stop sign right into my neighbor's yard, into her woods, and crashed. There was an accident right in front of my house. Cars are not stopping on Main Street. They roll right through the stop sign. In the early morning and late in the afternoon with commuters, they don't stop. They roll through the stop sign, and it becomes this log jam of school buses and trucks, and it's a mess. I have seen police presence in the early evening over at the Triangle store when they try to catch speeders, I guess, or whatever. The time to be there, in my opinion, is early in the morning, 8 o'clock, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Or one of those blinking yellow lights on the poles that will warn people that there is a dangerous intersection ahead. Also on Groton Road, the same thing. Coming from Westford, you go down the hill about 3/10 of a mile before you get to the Triangle store. There is a small sign that is an intersection sign. If it can be made bigger or brighter, because it's very gray and you can just barely see it. I'm just concerned what's going to happen at this intersection because it is so busy. Also, if the speed limit could be reduced on Groton Road from 35 to 25. I know it's a state road. If we could look into doing that and reducing the speed. I know the selectmen have discussed, as I have, a truck exclusion on Swain Road. I feel at this point, with the development that's going to be built up at the end of Route 40, and with the asphalt plant coming on board here, which I found out today may not happen until October. Someone said August, the Nashua facility said October. This is going to be huge. It could be huge for us if these trucks continue to be allowed to use the Swain Road, Dunstable Road, Ledge Road. Something major is going to happen here. Sorry. And also, thank you for paving Swain Road. However, for those trucks that maybe don't secure the back of their truck, or they're defective in some way, I cannot sit in my yard without the slamming of these trucks. I don't know what it is. There's still a little defect in the road, but it's continuous, and it does start at 5:15 in the morning because it wakes me up every morning. And then the downshift, the upshift, the overshift, whatever they do, coming and going is, you can hear it reverberating through your house. It's really very uncomfortable. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to read another email. So this is, hello, I'm a resident of Hazen Road and would like to propose transitioning it to a one-way or restrictive traffic during commute hours. The very short road has come a common cut-through from Concord Road to Boston Road, and at this point, 80% of the traffic takes that road instead of continuing down Concord Road. The road is hardly wide enough for 2 cars, and when commuters cut through, they drive at very high rates of speed. There are also many children who live on this road while making this a very dangerous situation. Sincerely, James. So, and one other note, I did also receive a phone call, and someone asked, the town they moved from, they had a dedicated police traffic officer, and they were wondering if that's something that could be done in Chelmsford. Okay. Did you want to?
Oh, sure.
Oh. Who is? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Getting in line.
Okay.
John Wojcik, Littleton Road. Are we going to get a chance to speak with DOT and Board of Health tonight about?
Not tonight, no.
What's going on? I mean, will this continue? Are we going to have another forum where?
Yes. So the goal is tonight we're going to take everybody's list, and then we're going to break it up because there's obviously different departments in town that would have to deal with. If it's an issue of speeding, that might be the police. If it's a road design issue, that might be planning board or DOT, depending upon who it is. If it's a smell from an asphalt plant, that could be Department of Health. So we're going to take all these concerns and sort of break it out by department and then start to go through and identify which are easy solutions, which are not so easy that might take a little more time, and then which ones we can't address or we're sort of handcuffed with and why, so that at least you'll have a clear answer as to why we can't do something about it. And I was going to talk about this at the end, but keep in mind too, the way we communicate with the public is it's on the town website, it's on social media, and this was, advertised in the paper. So, other than, going door to door and alerting people, if you have neighbors who are commenting, I don't know how much more you can do. We're using social media. It was all over social media. We're using the newspaper, and we're using the town website to get the information out that we're having these sessions. So, they got to participate. If you're going to sit back and not come to the meetings because the Bruins are playing, and then show up in 6 months and complain that you have a beef,
Right.
That can be frustrating on our end too.
But, me being on Littleton Road, my neighbors, this has been an ongoing thing where I've come before the Board of Selectmen, 3
Right.
times already this year. I'd like all of that to continue. Mike McCall has been, I guess he's been talking with DOT. I haven't been hearing much about that. We've been waiting for this meeting. My neighbors have been waiting for this meeting. We have issues with our sidewalk.
Right.
My focus is before we're on the asphalt plant, the speeding trucks, the trucks dumping asphalt on the road, everything that's happening in the other side of town. I feel for everybody in North Chelmsford, but you have no idea what you're in for once that paving plant comes. Because that plant is going to smell. It is going to just be horrible, horrible, horrible for everyone. It's not going to happen. Well, hopefully it doesn't, but it's...
So I will say that's my fault that you don't have that tonight, because, Mike McCall and Paul were going to bring in DOT and tonight and but my fear was that we were going to show up in a room and just start telling people why we couldn't do things or what the results were without listening to what all the concerns were first. So I sort of asked them, hit the pause button, let's get a list first, and then we can start addressing. Now, they have been working on your issue because you've come in front of the Board of Selectmen. I didn't feel that tonight was the place to give you an update on that, because you've been coming to our meetings and we've been giving you updates there. So I felt like your issue's been, what we can, been moving along. I wanted to really just get a baseline of and a pulse of the traffic issue in town, because, like I said in the beginning, traffic's different things to different people.
Yeah. Now, additional, again, the sidewalks. The sidewalks on 110, every single person on 110 walks on the sidewalks. We use it. You guys, you want to spend millions of dollars in the center of town and have, new restaurants and a walkway along the river, but if you can't leave your house and walk to the center of town on Littleton Road, we have a sidewalk. You can hardly walk on. There's so many holes and ruts, and after it rains, the puddle's there for 3 days.
Just so you know, I went and found your house. I sat in front of it I did put down my windows on a Sunday afternoon to see, or a Saturday afternoon to see what the smell was like. I know what you're talking about, and I did take some time to see what you were dealing with.
And you know, to be honest with you, this springtime, it's been very quiet. We've had so many rainy nights. We've had so many rainy weekends. But, you know, one of my questions to the chief is, why do you allow aggregate to operate on Sundays? I mean, that's right. But why are they operating? I mean, I'm waiting for Father's Day and having a cookout with my father, and, you know, like every other year, those trucks are going to be going up and down 110 on a Sunday.
Yeah, we'll note that
You know,
question.
It's just got to stop. I mean, the people of this town need to be able to live. They need to be able to sleep at night. They need to be able to have their kids out and playing in their front yards. It's, you know, and maybe one day at a time, you know, just stop it on Sundays, but then at nighttime. I'll be back up. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I'm going to take you to the other section of Chelmsford about trucks. I would like to thank
Now you've done it, Debbie.
Okay. To begin with, I want to thank Chief Spinney for putting the 30-mile-an-hour sign on Stedman Street. And I read a report that was compiled by Sergeant Richardson of our area from March the 20th to March the 27th. And during that 7-day span, there was 82,238 cars that drove on Stedman Street. The average rate of speed was 37 miles an hour. But there were other cars that were driving more like 55 miles an hour. I will say it was a thorough report that really gave you how fast the speeders were going. But what it didn't tell me, and one of the complaints that when I went before your board in March, was the weight of the trucks, because we have trucks also, and we are the only link to the city of Lowell for trucks. The trucks on my street are starting about 4:30 in the morning, and our houses are shaking at 4:30 in the morning, and they seem to be getting bigger and heavier. And what I'd like to request is if we could somehow find out the weight of the trucks. It was suggested to me by actually one of the board, someone on the board. He said maybe we could limit the weight of the truck, because we cannot stop the city of Lowell from using our street because of the link to the town of Chelmsford. These trucks have access to Golden Cove and to 110, but they're using Stedman Street to return. I believe, to be honest with you, that the cars, it was mentioned to me by a resident this past week, that they believe that the cars that are proceeding through Golden Cove up Stedman Street are going faster than 37 miles an hour. The speed posted in front of my house is 30 miles an hour. And I agree with her, because my car was hit, and I was hitting that car, and they estimated, because my car was pushed to the house next door, at least 45 miles an hour. So thus, I would say that she is correct. I also was told by a resident if I was here this evening, at the corner of Stedman and 110, there seems to be an assumption that there are 2 lanes when you proceed down Stedman to the light. There is not 2 lanes. And I will tell you myself, I take my car and I pull it over as far to the sidewalk as I possibly can, even when I make a left-hand turn, because even the other day I closed my eyes because I thought I was going to get hit. If there's two cars side by side at that intersection, one of them is going to be over the yellow line. I have had people yell at me. I have had horns blast at me, and I refuse to move to the yellow line. Because if I go over that yellow line and there's an accident, I'm in the wrong, legally, and I won't do it. So someone said to me, would you mention that this evening? And I said, yes, I will mention that, because she feels the same way I feel. Your life is, I don't even think it's cell phones. I think they are proceeding too fast when they come onto Stedman from 110 and they're making that left-hand turn. They're not distracted, they're just going. Be honest, the trucks in the morning are shaking our homes. And I mean, I sit there and say, oh, I know what time it is. It starts around 4 to 4:30 in the morning, and the house is shaking. And you can tell by the weight of the truck. I'll say, oh, it's a truck. And if I look out. The other problem that we have in our area are buses. They are not stopping for the buses. I observed, as I said to the board that night, a car, she blasted her horn. I looked out the window, I saw that bus go at least 45 miles an hour. And this evening it was mentioned about Princeton Street. I was on Princeton Street last fall, and the children were being let out of school at the community center of that side street. And there was something that was going so fast as I was heading towards Vinyl Square. That car landed on the sidewalk, the middle of the car, landed on the sidewalk. I heard it plunk. I don't know how she ever got the car out of there. That was to stop for the bus. And someone mentioned North Road about in front of the McCarthy School. And I observed two cars that were in front of me. The bus had the lights were going when she was ready to open the door, and they in front of the bus. So they are not stopping for buses. I think, unfortunately, everybody's in a hurry. I observed Friday, cars not stopping for a Trinity ambulance. On Barica Road, I was on Summer Street. And the driver looked at me because I was at the end of Summer Street. And he put his hand, on Barica Road, Summer Street. And he put his hand up, he's just looking at me with the siren going. So it's very disturbing not to see people stop for ambulances, stop for buses, somebody blasting your horn in the center of town when you stop for a pedestrian. And I've had that happen too. So I don't know if people have just decided that they're more important than the vehicle beside them or not. But maybe we should take a month and make it a safety awareness month. Maybe September when they start school again. Because I think it's a false notion. If people want sidewalks in town, that they feel safe. When I heard about the car that overturned on Summer Street, I believe it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was on social media. I couldn't believe it because I think with that street quite often. All I could envision was the elderly that live in the retirement community with their walkers and their dogs walking on that sidewalk. And I started praying because they didn't say if anyone had gotten hurt. Last July, in front of my home, Sunday afternoon, 1:30 in the afternoon, they just replaced the poles. They'd been there for years. There was a car, split the pole. The car was being held up by the top of the pole, split it in half. There was no other traffic. We lost our electricity for hours. So I really think we need to reduce the speed. As was pointed out at the May 2017 meeting, by Chief Spinney, although it was voted down for the 25 miles an hour, they would not be looking to stop people to give them tickets, but to reduce the speed. If we could get people to reduce their speed to 30 miles an hour, what a treat to drive around town, because you wouldn't be playing chicken at Dalton Road. I went and had new tires put on the car, and I spoke to Eric Stansfield, and he was telling me how he walks his dog at 6:30 in the morning, and there's heavy trucks that are coming from North Road onto Dalton Road, and they're not supposed to be on North Road. He said, Debbie, they're heavy trucks, and they're moving. So I was unaware of that, but I asked him to come tonight. I don't believe he did. And to speak about that.
Yeah. So we're at about 5 minutes, Debbie. I'm going to have to we got a line behind you. Thank you. Yeah, so this, yeah. Thank you, Pat.
Okay. We won't cut you.
Thank you. My name is Shirley Banowski. I live at 79 Ledge Road. I live on the dirt road where the trucks come down. 450 feet of that road is my land that I pay taxes on. Now, I know I've been told I'll probably have to get my own lawyer for that. Why? I don't know. But that's what I was told. I get woke up too. The road is right next to my house. They're coming off a hill. Jared breaks down. It's terrible. It's really, really terrible. Now, what happened was there was a quarry up there, and they sold their property to the plant, the hot top plant. $4 million they got. And they're the ones that have brought them down our road. I think you should go back where it started to Westford and give it to them. Put it right back in their lap. They did not want hot top trucks going through their yard, going through their roads, on their roads, near their houses, nothing. If you went by there, you saw big signs, no hot top. Of course, in Westford. Well, why do we have to have them come to Chelmsford? And also, that road I live on is owned by Earl Gilmet, his cousin Earl, John, and myself. It's not town-owned. And I know that if they're stopped on the paved road, it will stop for me. But do I have to get a lawyer to stop it for the whole town? I have 10 acres of land. I want to sell my house and get out of there. But what am I going to get for it? Nothing now. My husband passed away 8 years ago. Now I'm alone with this house and these trucks. And it's pretty scary. I can't even go out and mow my grass, these truck drivers going by. I mean, they've never made a motion to me or nothing, but I just feel funny going out and parading around on a tractor with trucks going up and down. You know what I'm saying? I have 3 acres of lawn. There's no privacy at all anymore. Plus, and I'm going to try to make it as short as I can. I know. The dirt road has been, they've tried to make it so it won't be bumpy. I'm 3 feet now. The road is 3 feet or 4 feet below me now. Used to be right with me. By the way, I've lived in that house lived on Ledge Road for almost 60 years. I know what goes on in that property. I know what goes on all around me. I'm very aware of what goes on. And it's not fair what has happened to us. The only way to stop it is to push it back into Westford, my opinion. Let them have the dirty thing that they did to us. Pushed it right into us. That's all I have to say. I meant to say too, the dirt road also has dust. and I mean a lot of dust. And I have to call up and ask them to put something on it because they don't know enough to do it by themselves. If you don't complain, they don't do. That's not right either.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. My name is Bob Hessian, 26 Ledge Road. I have a couple of questions along with some observations and a list that I'll submit later of the same thing, of questions and observations. My first question is the asphalt plant active at the moment?
No.
Is it
No,
in?
it's not active right now. Okay.
But it's not active at the moment?
No.
Okay. The other is, where would I find the ordinances or the laws that allow commercial traffic in a residential area in the town? Where would I find that? What is the premise that this is all working on?
That I'd have to give to someone else, but I can find it out and get back to you.
I'd appreciate that,
Okay.
sir, yeah.
Yeah.
And as the town or Newport, are they have a long-range plan, an alternate plan for the transportation of the aggregate and the asphalt? Is there another plan that we're not aware of that's being
I have
developed?
no idea.
It'll come out of one of these meetings, possibly?
Possibly, I guess. Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, the traffic, the tonnage, the road construction, all the safety features, this would not be allowed. Is that a fair statement? That the commercial
No
trucks?
idea.
It doesn't seem like it would measure up, yeah. Okay. And the other observation is at the parents and the children are waiting on the edge, at the end of Ledge Road in Dunstable. It appears that Newport will probably even do more business. They're going to get pretty large, and that's going to increase the volume of traffic because they also sell to private contractors, which will increase the roadway loads that they'll be traveling with. And there's a safety issue at that intersection of Dunstable and Ledge, and a safe zone may be needed if you think about the winter time, the difficulty for negotiating the turns that the trucks would have. Something should be set aside or looked at as a traffic officer or something to protect the people in that intersection where they drop off and pick up their children.
Okay.
And that's all I have, and I'll submit my rest of my. Who do I send it to?
You're going to send it to Mike McCall?
Mr. McCall?
Yeah.
Oh, very well. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to quickly read an email, Nancy, before you get up. This is from Bonnie and Ted Flanagan, 3 Derringer Road. We are residents of Derringer Road since the construction of Mill 3 apartments on Mill Road, and the traffic has been exponentially increased. We are now facing more traffic from the not yet open apartments on Warren Ave and Turnpike Road. Also, there'll be more traffic from the new housing development on Mill Road, which will impact us as well. We moved here for the serene country setting and open space. Now the area feels like a city living. We cannot even get out of Turnpike Road onto Mill Road without checking 3 times to be sure there's no oncoming traffic. This curve is bad. We can't see around it. So that was their comments. Nancy, you want to go?
Nancy Arroway, 65 Littleton Road. And I have 2 issues. It's traffic and sidewalks. This is going to sound like blasphemy, but I have to say to the folks in North Chelmsford that are complaining about the trucks running from 5 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon to be thankful. And to thank Westford, because I have to presume that they're the ones that limited those hours. On Littleton Road, the asphalt trucks run way into the night and all night long. When they hit the manhole covers, it literally rocks the plumbing in all the houses along there. So the issue is that if you only have a single shift of trucks running in North Chelmsford, Westford did something about making a choice to not permit them for night deliveries. Chelmsford has not made that choice. Chelmsford did set volume limits, which citizen counts have shown to be not complied with. We have a choice. I mean, their customer is the state. The state has a need for their services, particularly during the summer, during paving season, for night paving. But they're still in our town, and we're still the ones that issue their business permits. The issue of sidewalks is that throughout the town, our sidewalks are pretty despicable. They're just rough. They're not smooth enough for our increasing senior population to navigate. So we've been spending a lot of money on at-grade crosswalks, really nice crosswalks and really fancy guard lights at those crosswalks, but we haven't turned around and put some investments into making the sidewalks themselves navigable, and we need to. Thank you.
Thanks. Let me read one quick one in from Beth Logan. Once again, I've been surprised by prom traffic. Yes, this is an annual event, just like the 4th of July events. Everyone in the country knows of the 4th of July. Most downtown businesses are closed. The prom event occurs with no warning to most business owners and on a work day during rush hour. I check the town calendar each spring, and it's not listed, but the roads get closed and the police are out. In future years, some issues could be avoided and traffic could be reduced in the town, just posting signs in the area starting on Monday. If I saw a sign on a Monday that said prom, then I would have changed my schedule to avoid the area, leaving work early. Signs are posted on the 4th of July for those events, and we all know July 4th. DPW posts signs days ahead for road work. Why are there not posted any signs for prom events? That would be helpful. Beth Logan.
Once again, Jerry Hall, 34 Lovett Lane. They say a meeting is where people can get together where much is said and little is done. I feel like we've said much tonight, but I'd like to see if something could be done now. Chief, is it possible for the people up in Ledge Lane to get a 4-hour detail that they'd pay for? And let's get some strict enforcement on speed, driving on private property, dropping your loads on to the street. If that's possible, I don't live on Ledge Lane, but I'd give you the first $50 to get it done. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Board of Selectmen. I'm Dave Eckert from 11 Leeburg Street. I know traffic is a part of life everywhere in the United States. And I know it from fact because I have 150,000 cars go southbound on Route 3, and I have 150,000 come northbound in the afternoon. It's part of life. And I know the board is very concerned about truck traffic, and I've been driving a truck since 1968, and I can tell you a lot of laws. Probably the town of Chelmsford is one of the biggest buyers of aggregate from, used to be Roma, now it's Graves, for sidewalks, road repairs. They are a large producer or a buyer of aggregate up there. And aggregate is a natural resource. We need it. Everybody wants the streets paved, but it has to come from somewhere. And but the truck traffic, I can tell you, most trucks have overweight stickers, which allow them to go up to 78,000 instead of 60,000, which the town of Chelmsford doesn't have overweight stickers on their trucks, and they're more than likely running overweight. And you got to go up to Roma and Graves up there, Newport, I should say, and when they come off a scale house, you're supposed to come off legal weight, whatever your GVW is. If it's 60,000, that's all you can carry, the weight and the combined truck. But most guys have overweight stickers, which allow them to go up to 78,000. And of course, Graves and Newport selling material, they want to put as much on the truck as they can because they're making more money. But it has to start. The Board of Selectmen have got to inform the town manager and it trickle down to the chief of police, to the deputy, to the sergeant, and get some police enforcement out there for spillage, overweight, speeding, Jake brakes, so on and so forth. It's got to be that. Like I say, I've been doing it since 1968. I know the laws, and I've been stopped many a times, written up, paid fines. But it has to start with the police department really being out there and enforcing the laws. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Carafellis, 26 Quigley Ave in North Chelmsford. I travel to Burlington every day through this town. Most of the time, it's a minimum of 45 minutes to get to Burlington. 90% of my traffic is Chelmsford. The roads are not in the greatest of shape. People do not respect stop signs, traffic lights, or even four-way stops. You basically take your life in your own hands when you come across town. I've gotten to the point where I leave my house and I go through the city of Lowell to get to Billerica, and then I get onto Route 3. Believe it or not, that shaves a good 10 minutes or more off of my commute. Coming home, if it rains, I got a 2-hour commute. If it's not raining, at least another 45. And the thing is, there's so many people in this town and nobody's watching them. And I have said it, I can't tell you how many times. Where's the policeman when you need him? Because someone's gone through a light or done something stupid, and there's no one there to catch them. So besides, we need to do something about the volume. We need to do something about the conditions of our roads. I know some of them are state-owned. Route 4 is state, isn't it, Paul? All the way out to Billerica? Yeah, but Route 4 behind the library, that way. Is that state or is that us? Okay. But a lot of it is the condition of the roads. You get people that are coming through this town, and God forbid there be an accident on 495 or Route 3 or both. You're in total and complete gridlock. You're not going anywhere. And I understand if there's an emergency, they have to have the policemen and the firefighters and whatever available. But they need to be out there to monitor and ticket if people are doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. It would make our commute a lot easier.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to read another email. So this is from Ann and Ralph Gaudet, where there are two concerns we have. One is State Highway 110 at Eastgate Plaza, Glen Ave, and the lights for the on-ramp to Route 3. When traffic lights are within a few hundred feet of each other, they must be timed to allow for traffic to clear the Glen Ave Market Basket intersection. I realize the town can do little to correct the situation on a state highway, but the selectmen can bring the attention to the state and request a study to resolve this problem. The other concerns involve the four-way stop recently installed at Harold Street and Birch Street. I have driven Harold Street for 55 years. In that time, I've encountered maybe one or two vehicles at this intersection. There are no stop signs at either end of Harold Street, far busier intersections at both ends. There are no stop signs at either end of Birch Street either. Rumor has it that someone complained about speeding and the town responded with a four-way stop. Now I see more folks traveling faster after clearing the intersection to make up for the inconvenience of the stop. Perhaps a speed limit sign would have been more appropriate. Did you want to speak?
My name is Sunil Amin. I live in Tingsboro near Sullivan Ice Cream. I have one simple question and one request. I always go to Boston via Route 3, go to Merrimack Outlets via Route 3. It is always a 3-lane or 4-lane road, but only 55 miles per hour is a speed limit. So if somebody can propose to make it 65, because it is wide enough and so traffic can go fast and easily. So that is my just question and your request that if it can be made at 65 miles per hour, it will be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a couple long emails here. So if you just bear with me, I'll try to get through one of these. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend the meeting, so I'm sending an email. One of the major problems I see is the business vehicles parking on main streets throughout town, mainly landscape trucks parked on mainly landscape trucks and trailers. I'm not sure if they have permits or even permission to park in the streets, blocking part of one lane, or I have seen blocking on the lane entirely. Then obviously the driveway of the home, being serviced is completely empty. I see this as stopping in the road as either easier or quicker or just complete laziness. As myself, I have come across many times trying to drive around these trucks and trailers can be quite dangerous. One in particular, she names a landscaping company, I believe keeps doing work on Garrison Road towards Agway and parks their dump trucks and trailers blocking on side of the road right at the fork, of which I find completely ridiculous. But I guess this more is convenient for the workers. When you have drivers of all kinds have to make judgment calls on when it's safe to drive around onto the wrong side of the road into oncoming traffic and putting themselves and their passengers' lives at danger just because it's easier to park on the street, that's ridiculous in my eyes. I also understand it is not just landscapers, all trade vehicles in general, along with UPS, FedEx, etc., are guilty of the same process. Just stop wherever is easiest, no matter the danger you're putting other drivers into. One possibility is having a second occupant in delivery trucks, and only concern is traffic safety around the trucks. One I was personally involved in a couple weeks ago was trying to drive around a trash recycling truck. The vehicle I was in was heading up Route 110 in the center, and a truck was stopped and loading trash. The driver looked, and it seemed clear to drive around. Just as the vehicle got alongside of the truck started moving forward. Now with oncoming traffic heading towards us, the driver had to floor the vehicle up and speed up just to get in front of the truck to avoid a head-on collision. I'm not sure what the answers are for these problems. They've been for years. Some are fairly simple as far as landscape vehicles and trade vehicles to stop parking on roads and park in driveways where accessibility to unload equipment and park on the safer side of the street. Whereas I've seen in other states have paid employees direct traffic, simply stop and go signs where needed. I'm not sure of the number of accidents caused by simple parking issues on the side of roads, but stopping one should be enough of a reason. Issues with trash recycling vehicles could simply be no passing, just like on school buses. Once you're behind it. Some drivers may not like it, but at least it's safer. Also, I'm not sure where the line is drawn when police officers are needed to direct traffic. Only certain companies working in certain areas seem to need them. It should be any vehicle parked on the side of the road needs someone directing traffic. Anyways, just my opinion about my observations, how to make Chelmsford a safer place for drivers. David Fredericks. Oh, 2 other quick notes. As far as the rail trail goes, when it crosses the road, installing traffic lights or some type, right now it seems like it's a judgment call when to stop for vehicles and not a lot of walkers. Bikes stop at the stop signs. Make actual crosswalks with lights and call buttons. Also in the center of town, do something about bikes crossing the center for the rail trail. Most people walk or on their bikes wait for the lights and use the crosswalks properly, but a lot do not. They see an opening and they take it, which is unsafe for everyone involved. Whether it is a crossing guard or some type of busy times or even long-term, some type of bridge over, similar to Acton over 119. Thanks again. And that was from Dave Fredericks. So Chris, before you start speaking, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Yours is also one of the long ones. Do you want it read into record?
No, you don't have to. I just have a suggestion.
Sure.
My name is Chris Bowman, Precinct 4 Rep, 3 Julio Street. As we've heard from several residents, traffic has increased significantly, especially in the last 2 years. This comes on the heels of a lot of development in town. So maybe it's time for the town to establish commercial truck routes through town. Those are the only roads that they can use. They shouldn't be using private property. Whoever allowed that should correct it. And it should be done first thing tomorrow morning. These residents should not have to hire a lawyer for something the town should be taking care of and can do so within 5 minutes. So that's my suggestion. Hopefully you'll seriously consider it, and I think it'll help to cut down on a lot of the problems that we've been hearing about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have another email from Dottie Jones. My name is Dottie Jones. I reside at 23 Buckman Drive in the Westlands. Ever since the traffic lights were installed at Dalton Road and North Road, it has been a challenge for my neighborhood to get off our street. When the traffic lights were installed, they were set for a long light cycle in both directions of North Road and a very short cycle for residents trying to move off Dalton Road. At the time the traffic lights were installed, I asked the town manager, it was Bertie Lynch at the time, about the time settings of the lights, and it could be adjusted in fairness to our neighborhood. I was told that the life cycle is set by the state, and it is set in a way to move traffic coming from New Hampshire. This has always been an unfair situation for those of us who actually live here. I believe the morning traffic coming from New Hampshire is starting to stay on Route 3 until they reach the Cross Point exit. However, in the evening, the traffic avoids that on ramp heading north and heads to Chelmsford Street onto Dalton Road, then North Road to Drum Hill, where they pick up Route 3 north. When the traffic light at Dalton and North Road changes, we are lucky if 4 vehicles can move forward. Seeing traffic in town is going to be studied. I wanted to take this opportunity to bring this matter to your attention as a public document in the meeting minutes and or report for the town, for the traffic public input session with the Board of Selectmen. Thank you for your time. Dottie Jones, 23 Buckman Drive. We only have a few more here. This is from John Salmi. All the roads lead to Chelmsford. Chelmsford, Mass. has 8 major routes passing through it: Route 3, 3A, Route 4, 40, 110, 495, 129, and 27. The major problem is access to Route 495. Chelmsford only has one all access on and off north and south from Route 110, a half access at Route 4 or 495 south, and getting off Route 495 from the south. Almost every town resident wanting to access Route 45 has to drive through the center of town or drive to another town to bypass the center. Then at Route 3 and 495, this cannot handle the traffic. Everyone jumps off the highways and takes alternative routes. I see Route 27 in South Chelmsford getting heavier traffic every year. The state of Mass needs to add 4th lane to Route 3 and 495. Also, a full access exit at the entrance of Hunt Road Bridge and 495 would make sense. Also in Westford, a full access ramp at the entrance of 495 and 225. The major traffic is coming from New Hampshire. They are bypassing Route 3. We have 4 full access and entrances to Route 3 and only 1.5 at Route 495. Nothing will or can be changed to local traffic until the highways handle more traffic. So that sounds like more like a state one. Anybody else want to talk?
Hi, my name is Mary Gail Leonard. I live at Scotty Hollow Condos right on Route 40. And I just want to make a comment that if the trucks are heavy traveling now and the asphalt hasn't started yet, I know that asphalt plants are closed from November 1 to March 1st. And then from that summer months, the paving. So my question is, once they get up and running, all these people that live on Swain Road, for instance, the trucks are gonna, triple, quadruple with the product going out? Also, I go to Littleton Road. When I come out of Countryside Vet, I can smell the gasoline in the asphalt plant right next door. And I was told by the owner of the vet that they have to change their filters so many times during that kind of season. They get so filthy. And Scotty Hollow, I'm afraid that we pay a higher assessment than most condos in Chelmsford, and that starting maybe March, I'll have that gasoline smell, and then the people having all these trucks now, like I said, will probably triple or quadruple. And I would just like a study to be done on how many trucks are going now and how many trucks are going to propose to be going out. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have an email from Patty Hayes, or Patricia and Robert Hayes. We are residents of Main Street. This street has become increasingly busy, and many cars that have New Hampshire license plates that do not adhere to the speed limit. There have also been an increase in the number of trucks that travel on the street. Many people walk on Main Street, which has no sidewalks except for a short stretch heading north towards Nabnasset. This sidewalk is in disrepair, and residents often park their cars on the sidewalk, forcing pedestrians into the street. There have been many accidents on Main Street, including fatal ones. We urge you to take the necessary actions to ensure residents, pedestrians, and drivers are safe on Main Street. Sincerely, Patricia and Robert Hayes, 191 Main Street, Chelmsford, Mass.
I have a question, and I'm sure Paul will be able to answer it. When they're talking about the smell from the asphalt plant on Littleton Road, weren't they supposed to be using a chemical for that smell? I know it's been a couple of years before the board, but wasn't they supposed to be putting a chemical somehow, some way to avoid that odor? You don't remember? I know Ken wouldn't know.
State regulates, the Department of Environmental Protection regulates the odor from the asphalt plant.
All right.
And they are required to have filters, as was mentioned earlier.
But, and there wasn't there supposed to be some kind of chemical that was, no. All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. Just, what Paul said is that the state monitors the smells that are coming out of the asphalt plant, and that's something that falls under their jurisdiction. I have an email here from Rich Freitas, who's in the room, or I'll read it. The recent growth at the bottom of Mill Road and Turnpike have residents concerned about bad sight lines and recent close calls. DPW were aware of this situation, so that was, I think I've actually gotten a few calls in that intersection. That's the Mill Road Turnpike. Okay. And they did do the cutting, so thank you. So the last one I have here is it's Chris Bowman's. I don't, like I said, it's, I'll quickly, if you don't mind, I'll abridge it. So her first concern was Turnpike Road and Mill Road, that intersection, which is the one we just discussed. Turnpike Road, it's the speed that gets picked up on the straightaway there. And it's a very narrow road. There's a lot of development at 104 Turnpike. There's a lot of construction crews blocking half the road, and there's no police detail from the construction. The Tri-Road intersection at Turnpike, Billerick, and Golden Cove. There's been the site of many near misses, especially since multiple vehicles run the red lights on a daily basis. There was a contamination problem that was reported at 84 Turnpike and 81 Turnpike. Not sure of the status of that contamination issue. Our third item was Mill Road. There's a high amount of traffic in the morning traveling rush hour on Mill Road, a lot more traffic during all hours of the day, and a definite increase in the number of construction and large commercial vehicles. In general, these vehicles travel very fast along Mill Road, making it more difficult for residents to get onto Mill Road safely, especially those that live along Mill Road. The fourth one, Mill Road and Billerica Road intersection areas. In the morning and evening rush hour, vehicles are stacked up, getting onto and coming off Route 3. In the evening, the on-ramp to Billerica Road is at least a half mile down the ramp and extends onto Route 3 at times, with lots of vehicles attempting to cross the same space. Sometimes the intersection is literally jammed up. This results in a fair number of collisions. Needless to say, there's also a lot of near misses during the winter. Even when there's only just a few inches of snow, this can result in long delays and a backup onto Mill Road, taking 1.5 hours or more to get from Route 3 up Billerica Road to Golden Cove. She actually timed it. Last year, there was a pedestrian who got hit by a car at that section, in that stretch. Elizabeth Drive, Princeton Boulevard at 276 Mill Road near that intersection, every day people are exiting from the roads, shoot onto Mill Road in the direction of Billerica Road, causing numerous near misses due to impatience. See, last year, a person from Mill and 3 Entrance Road exited onto Mill Road towards Billerica and hit a handicapped school bus. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but that seems to be a point of issue there. One way to solve this problem is to redirect the Mill 3 exit entrance and soon to be 282 Mill Road through the exit onto Elizabeth Drive and redirect the Elizabeth Drive exit to Omni Way or the street before it that leads to the traffic lights on Billerica Road above the intersection. Billerica Road was widened to handle the heavy traffic, has multiple traffic lights, and it is the site of the 129 commercial area at the end of the road. And then the fifth one is Chelmsford. Generally, traffic, it's not just about Chelmsford. The town gets a lot of cut-through other Massachusetts towns and New Hampshire. People are traveling mainly along Route 3, 4, 27, 110, 45. In particular, if Route 3 and 45 are jammed up, the people who travel through the streets of Chelmsford onto Billerica or Carlisle or westward, depending. This has to be factored into the traffic plans for the town. Please include this letter in the public record in the Board of Selectmen meeting. Pretty good summary? Was that a good summary? Okay. That's all the emails and notes I have, so if there's anybody else that wants to take the mic.
Ruth Monahan, West Chelmsford. And I'd just like to say that as far as the speed, I don't think we need to lower speed limits. I think we need to enforce what we have. I mean, get out there and enforce. Would there be anything wrong with Chelmsford being known as, oh, you gotta watch out for Chelmsford, they really enforce their speed limits? I think that'd be a great thing. It might limit some of the appeal to get off Route 3 and take diverse routes through the town roads. It certainly wouldn't hurt the regular residents to drive at the proper speed. I can't tell you how many times I see people zipping by those 20-mile-an-hour speed limits by the schools. And one of these days there is going to be a kid out there, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to pick up the newspaper and find out some kid's been killed because someone couldn't obey the speed. So let's just enforce. You lower them, what's going to make it any more likely that they're going to obey it? Enforce the limit, it's the law.
Thank you.
Nancy Arroway, 65 Littleton. I'd just like to point out that the emissions limits that the state sets on the asphalt plants are based on human safety levels. Chelmsford has nuisance bylaws on odor control that are a lot more stringent than what the state sets for health levels. We do have the ability to enforce that. There is a fine, it's a daily fine. Granted, that fine is very painful to a resident in terms of its level. It isn't terribly painful to an organization the size of the asphalt plant. But you know, when that's day after day and month after month, it gets to be enough of a nuisance to pay attention to it and do something about your emissions.
Rich Freitas, Precinct 4. I'd just like to update my email. The town did respond, and they did take care of the overgrowth on the dangerous intersection on Turnpike and Mill. I want to thank them for all the cooperation. And somebody also sent an email about the danger on that hill, and the town has a plan, and they're going to improve that intersection this year. Thank you.
I did get one last text here, too. This person saying that they have concerns about Rogers Road in the morning, the left-hand turn, traffic taking left onto Rogers Road. There's been several complaints about them. They're a town rep. I don't know where that is, but so if there's nobody else left, so again, like I said in the beginning, the purpose is, this was recorded. We've been taking notes busily on the side to make the list. We're going to circle back around with the town manager and the assistant manager, and then break these items out into which board in town has jurisdiction over the concern. Obviously, we got the clear message on Ledge Road. I think we probably heard from everybody that lives in that street, plus the surrounding streets. Obviously, that's probably going to be priority number one. There's probably some low-hanging fruit on this list that we can go after pretty quickly. But our goal, again, is to take this list, break it up by jurisdiction, and then start discussing on how to go through these items. And again, we should be back to you, within a month or so. If you attend the Board of Selectmen meetings, we do have open session. If you would like to take that time also to stand up and ask more questions, we always encourage you to come to the town meetings and participate. So with that, Chief, you want to just say a few words?
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief. Thanks for coming out. I just wanted to respond to a couple of comments. First of all, traffic is a priority for us, but it's one of many. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of vehicles that move through this town every week. Traffic assignments are given every day to the patrol officers, but you have to understand, I have 5 patrol officers covering this community that swells to 100,000 people during the day. And if you probably heard me at town meeting, the calls we're dealing with, we are a call for service-oriented police department. And what I mean by that is, this isn't Concord, this isn't Carlisle. The cruisers are not driving around looking for things to do. They are literally going call to call to call. We had 35,000 calls last year. So the problem with that is, the 5 patrol officers do traffic in their sectors. They do the best they can. We push out the complaints. Lieutenant Spence gets the complaints. The best way to help us articulate the complaint, time, location, what you're seeing. Get that to us. We pump it out to the traffic unit. When there's a traffic unit officer on, we do not have a full-time traffic unit. So while Lieutenant Spence oversees traffic issues, I do not have a full-time dedicated traffic officer. It gets pushed down to the patrolman. It becomes part of their daily responsibilities. Oftentimes, an officer will set up for radar or traffic enforcement. He gets a call for service, he has to leave. And then he goes back when he can. So obviously, this list we did just tonight is daunting. So when the officer gets 10 spots to do during his shift, he has to factor that in with the calls for service he's going to receive. And unfortunately, not all the spots get hit. Now, when we see something that's a true hazard and needs immediate attention, we'll pivot resources over. But it's tough to maintain that day after day after day. So the comments being made to enforce, I'd be lying to you if I stood here and said we could do more. We cannot. The officers are straight out. We enforce. We wrote over 6,000 citations last year. We stop hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cars every year. We do not have truck restriction authority. We have no authority to restrict trucks in any public way unless there's already an exclusion in place. We do not have authority to restrict truck operation by time. So we can't stop a truck driving by your house at 4 in the morning unless they're being unduly noisy with the Jake brake. If you think that's happening and you can tell us a time that's happening, we'll try to get an officer out there to look at that. To do more would be unrealistic. I just don't have the manpower. We do what we can with what we have. Again, very, very call for service busy community. And we do traffic. It's a priority, but it gets queued into what the calls for service are coming in as well. So please keep the concerns coming into the traffic unit. There's a lot of good stuff here we can work on, especially line of sight issues, things of that nature. I work with DPW, we reach out, we solve the problem if it's something like that. As far as violations, if you can narrow it down to a certain time for us, like that last call that just said Rogers Road in the morning, we'll have resources out there, at least in the short term, to try to get a gauge of it. Traffic counters, traffic board, the radar board, it's all stuff we'll deploy if we get a call about a concern of a particular area, particular time. But as far as the enforcement piece, we're really doing the best we can with what we have. So, but we hear you, and we're going to do all we can to move forward on trying to find solutions. So, and as far as Ledge Road goes, we pummeled Ledge Road last fall, pummeled it every day. Part of the problem is the trucks see the officer, so you know what happens. There's a cruiser there, okay? I got to be honest with you. The officers are not seeing a speed problem on Ledge Road. They're not. They're seeing a volume problem. They're not seeing a speed problem. Again, I think the word gets out, there's the cruiser. They're probably slowing down. But we had very few citations written on Ledge Road with regards to excessive speeds. The volume's there, that's no doubt, but
I appreciate that you only have limited resources. My dad was a cop for 40 years, I know the life. But I also know you can get details.
I'm not going to charge, yeah, I appreciate, right, and that's great that you offered that. I'm not going to begin that precedent where we're going to charge residents for extra officer coverage. I mean, we'll pivot some extra stuff over there again. We'll hit that heavy again, especially if things are going to be picking up. So we'll make that a priority for us. But we try to address everything, we really do. Like you heard, Lieutenant Spence solved an issue with the Jake brake. That's something that's in our wheelhouse. Whether it's the backup horn at 4 in the morning, we can get the word out on that. We'll call the company and we'll tell them, hey, take it easy with the backup horn. And that usually gets out to the truck drivers, because the last thing the truck drivers want to see is the cruisers looking for them, because they just want to do their job and be left alone. If you have a CDL license and you get a citation, it affects your job. So we'll try to get the word out that way too.
As Chief just said, if you see something, report it. Don't hesitate to call in, whether it's the police station. You saw from the number of emails that Mike McCall got, his email is on the website. Feel free, if you see a site issue, like Rich when he saw the end of Mill Road there, I got a call, he sent an email to Town Hall, they got the DPW out, the bushes got cut back. So if you see a site issue, call it in. That's the only way this stuff is going to get addressed. We can't read minds. We have one more item on the agenda, which is press questions. Mark, I will ask you, just so they can get you. We need you. Yeah, do you mind? And we haven't really handled a lot of questions tonight. I do understand that. I'll do my best to.
I know the evening's running late. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I'm Margaret Smith. I'm the editor at the Eagle Independent, which now covers Chelmsford, Westford, and Littleton. So, and with that in mind, because I know Westford was mentioned quite a lot, any thoughts about having some dialogue with that town about some of these issues that seem to be shared, at least according to the observations shared here, that may in fact transcend town borders?
I probably can generally speak to that. I mean, I know Mike has reached out to both Westford and Tingsboro on the Ledge Road issue. We're not against it, but I'm not really sure who here would reach out to who there and what that discussion exactly would be. Because I don't know what they stand to gain by having a discussion with us.
Okay. And just finally, what comes next in the process? Can you clarify what comes next for the meetings or forums or the information that's gathered? Just what is the process going forward?
So I think the process will probably, and this is just me speaking freely, I'm not really, we have to, like I said, take that list, we're going to regroup, break it out again by which department in town is affected by which which item on that list, whether it's, if it's a speed issue, that's the police. If it's a stop sign, four-way intersection issue, that could be DPW. If it's a smell from the asphalt plant, that's Department of Health. It could be a Mass DOT issue. So we have to identify which one of those items, the items that came up, where they sort of fall out. There are probably some of these issues that came up that could be addressed fairly quickly and rectified. Some of them are going to be more of a longer-term approach, that like maybe 2-3 months. And then obviously we're going to have some that may be even longer than that to sort of look at and try to figure out what the solution is. So the next step is probably another meeting where we answer some questions and maybe just take the bigger 4 or 5 topics and see if we can start supplying answers on what to do with it. And hopefully we can start reporting back some results as far as what was taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, if you got a question, you got to come up to the mic, though, just so the people that are watching at home can hear you.
Just a question. Would we request someone from Newport Materials come to the next meeting? Seeing as the large majority of issues that were brought up tonight with North Chelmsford in particular is trucks.
Paul, I'm sure we can request it, right? Yeah.
Right.
You can't force them to show up.
Okay, thank you.
Just a note, the nuisance bylaws are part of the zoning bylaws. They're under the building inspector,
Okay.
not the Board of Health.
My name is Robert Wood. I live on Swain Road. I know my wife had talked earlier tonight about the jake brakes. If there's a possibility, Chief, Westford has signs up, no jake brakes, please. If we could put one on Swain Road, and that might help out also when they're coming down the hill. Swain Road was just repaved in sections. They did a great job, but they left 2 potholes still there. And it needs to be painted with the double lines. A lot of times they're passing on double lines on Swain Road also. So I just want to let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody else for coming out tonight. For people who took time to watch it over the Bruins game, thank you. If anything else comes up, feel free to email Mike McCall or myself. My cell phone's also on the website. If you have any, you feel free to text me or call. So thanks for coming out. Have a great night.